Oh,
You'll know who it is.
oh.
Hey,
And
everybody,
do you
welcome
got the Hall
to
of
the
Fame?
TD.
You got
What's
the
that?
Hall of Fame one?
Yeah, that's the one that Cody sent out.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, welcome to the TD Report. I'm your host, David Combs, here with Tony Kennedy, TK. We got Jody Coleman out in the Midwest. Hey, guys, this is kind of like graduation for us. This is the show before the Super Bowl. So this is the show where we give out our league superlatives. I've got a couple of categories that I'm gonna throw in there for my co-hosts that we didn't go over in production. Just kind of keep it fun a little bit, right? So let's get down to the business here. We're going to start off with the rookies. There were some great rookies this year across the NFL. Some names that you're going to hear on this list. Oh, yeah, I remember seeing that guy in the playoffs or this guy. But we here on the show, we want to give credit where it's due. So what I'm going to ask my co-host to do is give me who gets the award, who should get the award, and who's going to get it. You see what I'm saying? It could be the same guy, but I just want to get people's impression on kind of how it works or whatever. Hey, if you're here on the chat, jump in the chat, and Cody will try to get you on the scroll at the bottom. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. Let's talk about Offensive Rookie of the Year. Okay, we're ready for this? These are Offensive Rookie of the Year candidates. We've got Brock Purdy, quarterback, 49ers. Mr. Irrelevant, obviously, had a great season. Kenneth Walker, the running back, Seattle Seahawks, had a hell of a rookie year. And Garrett Wilson, wide receiver for the Jets. Those are your Offensive Rookie of the Year candidates. I'm going to go first. Who should win? It should be Kenneth Walker for the Seattle Seahawks. That guy was absolutely incredible. A lot of people thought he was a little bit underdrafted, but he really showed improved. And honestly, if you don't have him in Seattle as a rookie playing the way he did, you aren't going to get the type of season, the type of support, that Geno Smith was going to need at quarterback. What do you think about that, Tony?
Well, I think they go hand in hand. What made Seattle great again was the running game.
He said great
again. And that's what actually got them back to the playoffs. And it helped a quarterback like Geno Smith, who's had problems, who had everything. It made the game easier for him. If you looked at the teams, if you looked at him, that was something that was needed. I mean, any struggling quarterback, you asked him, I don't need a great receiver, I don't need a great tight end, I need a good running back behind me, and I need a good running game. Props to the O-line, of course, because without them, it wouldn't. But you see that Seattle team, I picked to finish last. And what happened? That rookie came in, ran the ball well. Geno Smith looked like the 10-year-old vet that he is, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay. What do you think, Jody?
I'm going to go off script.
I want you to. I mean, it's not the show without Jody going off script.
Now, a person that's going to win it, in my opinion, is going to be Garrett Wilson, because Garrett Wilson called for 1,000 yards. When you got Zach Wilson as your quarterback and you still have 1,000 yards, that has to mean something. That's why I think is going to be, I said it before the season started that he was going to be the top receiver, and he was the top receiver. I think he will win it, but I think who I think should win it is Dameon Pierce, the running back for the Houston Texans, should win the Rookie of the Year because of the team that he was on. He missed the last couple games of the season. That team was god-awful, and he still produced, even though they knew that only thing they had was him, and he still was close to 1,000 yards rushing. Mm-hmm. I like Dameon Pierce to win it, but I believe it's going to go to Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, you made a great point. Garrett Wilson, and quite a few of the Ohio State wide receivers, coming out, even a guy that's a veteran like Terry McLaurin, those guys were not working with the best quarterbacks, the best quarterbacks out there. Chris Olave didn't have a great quarterback situation in New Orleans. He got 1,000. I think he got 1,000 yards as well. He did? Yeah. I think he got 1,000 yards as well. You could argue that those guys do more with less at quarterback than what is generally thought to be possible.
So with that said, Kenneth Walker has gotten this dude a new contract, and he's been struggling for 10 years. He made Geno Smith look like he was a legit quarterback when we haven't seen that. I haven't seen that in Geno since 14.
Not so fast, because Geno Smith started off fast this season, and Kenneth Walker didn't get into the lineup until like week 4 or 5, and Geno Smith was balling because they had a running game because Penny got hurt. So I'm not taking anything away from Kenneth Walker, but let's make no mistake that Geno Smith was balling well before Kenneth Walker entered the lineup.
Okay, and then he kept balling, and they actually went to the playoffs.
They had a win record before he got into the lineup.
Yeah, but they went to the playoffs. See, so when we gonna get going, the only reason why Brock Purdy is on here is because his team went to the playoffs, to the NFC Championship game.
But
so,
unfortunately, it's not a postseason award.
I understand that.
And that's my fault. You're right, Jody. No. Hold on, Jody. He's right. He's right.
But it stops at the last game of the season. So the last game of the season, you know who's in the playoffs.
True.
So Kenneth Walker, he only played one game in the playoffs, so that doesn't matter. But he took his team there. So when that gun went off on the last Sunday of the season, they knew that he made Geno Smith go to the playoffs probably for the first time in his career.
Tony,
and Geno need him. Give him some money.
Hold on. Before we go on, Dave, Tony, I want to address you. You said that he helped him when you got DK Metcalf, who had 1,000 yards receiving, and Lockett had an excellent season as well. Not to mention Noah Fant had a good season at the tight end position. So I don't think it was just Kenneth Walker III. If you look back, the running game is the running game because of the system Seattle run. Because Penny would have had 1,000 yards rushing if he does not get hurt. So I mean,
what did they do the year before?
What do you mean?
Did Seattle make the playoffs the year before?
I don't think so. No.
And all those guys had 1,000-yard receiving and all that other stuff too.
No, not Tyler Lockett. No,
Metcalf did, right?
He did.
So Metcalf is a gift. So the only difference in that little variable is Walker, and they make your boy, who I don't mess with, Geno Smith. They got him paid. So Geno need to give some of that check.
What Geno needs to do is he needs to adopt Kenneth Walker as his own. At this point, he made his. I mean, I'm saying. I mean,
I get it.
Geno Smith. Well, and by the way, comeback player of the year award would probably have to be Geno Smith because
no.
Who?
Saquon Barkley. You take Saquon Barkley off that New York Giants team, they win 5 games.
It might be Danny Dimes.
Oh, stop it. Oh, my God.
Danny Dollar.
Hey, can we move on, Dave? Can we move on?
It might be Danny Dollar.
Damn.
Y'all got to give it to Danny Dollar.
Y'all are killing me, man. So let's talk about Defensive Rookie of the Year. Some great defenders on this list. I want to say this. The 3 guys that I'm going to say for this list, they're all worthy of winning this award. But there's one guy who should win the award and will win the award. Aiden Hutchinson of the Lions, edge rusher, more than solid for a pretty good Lions defense and a good Lions team in general. There was a lot of knocks against Hutchinson, even though he was drafted high, but there were a lot of knocks against him that said he was plain and he was a ham and egger. The dude has a motor and he works extremely hard, which works well for Detroit and works good for that city. You know what I'm saying? He's a guy that you can get behind and build behind. The other is Tariq Woolen, Seahawks. Again, great draft by the Seahawks here. Tariq Woolen played like a man all year. Great guy, great player, out there on an island. But the guy that's going to win this award, and hands down, is Sauce Gardner of the Jets. Sauce Gardner came into the league with a big reputation from a mid-major school and more than backed it up. Now, listen, he gave up 1 touchdown this year, the first touchdown he ever gave up since high school. This guy, Sauce, is the best thing to happen to the New York. I'll say this. Sauce Gardner is the best thing to happen to the New York Jets since Joe Namath. Whoa. He is. Because here's why. He talks the talk and he walks the walk. Got to give him credit. Had a hell of a season, guys. And statistically, if you put Sauce Gardner up against all rookies, he's number 1 in everything at his spot. He is the goods. Now, Tony, you saw him a lot in college. You saw him play a lot.
He's from Jody's area, but I saw him too because I am a huge Bearcat fan. I've always loved the Bearcats from college on. I love those teams like Cincinnati and Memphis and UCF and USF because nobody talks about those teams. But oddly enough, those teams put good to great ball players out. I think Sauce Gardner, pardon the pun, he got the sauce. I mean, he's that guy.
Absolutely.
From
day one.
He is that guy. And it's obvious. And I think you saying that he's the biggest thing since Namath?
Yep. For the Jets.
That's 50 years, and then you got to talk about Keyshawn and all the Curtis Martin and Curtis, my man Martin, and all that. You know, is probably the best underrated running back in history. Him and Gore. Stop, Dave, because you had the New York Sack Exchange, and we had all that stuff with the Jets.
I'm talking about upon arrival, the coronation of this young man, and he has lived up to all expectations.
He has.
If they put a team around this guy,
yeah, he has lived up.
I love him. I love the whole thing about him. So he's the reason why you watch the Jets.
He is.
And Garrett Wilson will be the reason you watch the Jets. What do you think, Jody?
I mean, no doubt, Sauce Gardner is the best corner. He made All-Pro too, I believe. And if he didn't, I think he made All-Pro. But a guy that I really
pretty good
all season I battled with these two guys, and that was Tariq Woolen. I'm a huge fan of Tariq Woolen from the Seattle Seahawks. Man, that guy was a 5th-round draft pick, so he came out of nowhere. He's big. He's about 6'4". He plays and he can play man to man. He plays a lot in zone, man. He reminiscent of a Richard Sherman. So the league is in good hands at the cornerback position with those two guys. But yeah, Sauce will win it though.
And you guys heard it on this show. This is our thing that we came up with on the TD Report. As the wide receiver position has become more prominent in the league, you're going to find more of the new generation of corners that have to cover the Garrett Wilsons and the Chris Olaves of the world, in addition to the Tyreek Hills and all of that. This new offensive schemes that are going to, the defense has to adapt. And you're going to start seeing more guys that really can play that cornerback position. And the Sauce Gardner, that's a guy in that vein. Tariq Woolen, same type of thing. Great analysis on that, gents. Here we go. Offensive Player of the Year. This is generally a quarterback award. We have one wide receiver that's going to get some votes. Justin Jefferson of the Minnesota Vikings flirted with some serious all-time wide receiver records. Fell a little short, but again, my opinion, I think if there's two better receivers in the league, I want to see him. He is one of the best receivers in the league, period. And it's a very small room. We go to Jalen Hurts, quarterback, Philadelphia Eagles. What can you say about this guy other than when Philadelphia starts the bus, if he ain't on it, they ain't going to the game. They need this guy. I don't care what the statistics say, and the statistics for him are good. He is a leader in the true sense of the word. But the guy that's going to get this award, Offensive Player of the Year, who will own this award for the next 10 years, is going to be Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes is going to get this award. He should get the award, and that's my take. Go ahead, Tony.
Can I get it? I think this is the first year they're going to split it. I think the Offensive Player of the Award is going to go to Hurts, and I just think Hurts will win that award. I don't know. Something's just telling me because of the story, everything behind him. He is a leader in every sense of the word.
Absolutely.
I mean, he does everything the correct way. Guys, so we understand 5 years ago when he lost they won the championship, his job was taken at halftime. When Tua threw the touchdown, he was the first person running on the field to congratulate Tua. And that right there, man, that made me a fan for life for this kid. I don't like Alabama. I don't like Philly, but I like Jalen Hurts. I like everything that he stands for, everything that he's doing. I'm all in with Jalen Hurts, man. I really respect that kid, and I'm glad he's doing big things.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Jody? You think there's going to be a split? You think this is going to be a split award, or you think one of these guys is going to win it?
I'm listen to what I'm saying. Offensive player of the year is Jalen Hurts. I think he's the most complete offensive player, not MVP. Offensive player. I'm gonna give Jalen Hurts that award because normally they split that award. They don't always give it to the MVP. So I'm going to go offensive player of the year, Jalen Hurts, for what he did with his legs as well as his arm. He helped Philadelphia to have the best record in the NFC. He's proven to be the best quarterback in the NFC, third best quarterback, in my opinion, in the league. Jalen Hurts is the offensive player of the year.
Okay, I like it. Now this one's going to hurt Tony a little bit. Defensive player of the year. We've got Micah Parsons from the Cowboys, second-year player. Just to even be mentioned for defensive player of the year as a second-year player is pretty amazing. Chris Jones from the Chiefs, another guy, stud, had a great season, very tough to block, Rex game plans, and will be expected on Sunday. He's going to have to be a factor for the Chiefs to kind of control one of the strongest offenses in all of football. Nick Bosa for the 49ers. Statistically, you can't mess with this guy. I mean, there's nothing I can say about Nick Bosa negative in terms of why he shouldn't win this award. I've got to give it to Nick Bosa of the 49ers, and going away. It's not going to be close. What do you think, Jody? We'll go to you first. We'll get Tony last.
I don't even think that, no disrespect on, I don't think Michael Parsons should be in the final three. I think it's other deserving defensive players that should have been up there over him. I think Roquan Smith should have been over there over him. I believe that potentially Myles Garrett, Hassan Reddick, those are guys I think had better statistical seasons and better seasons than Michael Parsons. Not taking anything away from the young man, but we know that Nick Bosa is going to win it. But if I had a vote, it would go to Chris Jones. And the reason why it would go to Chris Jones is because when you have a D tackle that can get you double-digit sacks, and you can move him on he can play the D tackle, he can play the DN position. He's the anchor defensively. You take him off that Kansas City defense, and they don't win as many games as they did. I like Chris Jones to win it, but of course it's going to go to Parsons. It's going to go to Bosa because of his stats. But look at Chris Jones' stats, guys. He's probably one of the best run stoppers, and he's definitely one of the best rushing interior guys in the league.
I would agree with you. And before I go to Tony, I'll say this for Micah Parsons. You take him off that Dallas defense, okay? They aren't the same thing. It's literally night and day as far as what he means to the scheme. So what you're saying about Chris Jones as well, same situation. You take him off that Chiefs defense, and they're kind of ordinary. You know what I'm saying? They don't have that extra, that you need to be a solid defense, get your team off the field on third down, get that offense back on the field. Really what Chris Jones's job is to get the ball back for Pat Mahomes. If your defense can do that consistently and keep giving Pat Mahomes and giving Andy Reid opportunities to mess around with the other team's defense, they're eventually going to break through. I appreciate your analysis on that. Tony, who is your defensive player of the year?
Well, the Dallas side of me would say Micah Parsons. But if your player of the year is going to have numbers, so the numbers favor Nick Bosa. Who is the best defensive player of the year? It's either the Reddick kid for Philly or hell, I think they got the wrong dude on San Francisco. I love it, one of them linebackers that they got.
Fred Warner.
Fred Warner.
Yeah. What we talking about here?
He bringing that fire. He brings that fire, dog.
So let me put this in the context for people. Michael Parsons gets all the hype. He gets all the accolades. So we can put this. So it's on the show. He's one of only two players to be first team All-Pro on defense his first 2 years, and the other player's name is LT. Y'all know who that is.
Okay? It's not easy to do it.
It's not easy to do it.
I don't think he's first team this year over Hassan Reddick. That's just my opinion.
When you scheme, and you see Dallas 2 years ago before Parsons finished 31st in defense. The next year they finished like 18th. This year they finished 10th or 12th. So you can see that he makes a difference. Is he the player of the year? No. I believe he's probably the most valuable player on defense to his team, him or Chris Jones. Because without them,
you take them off those teams.
Those two defenses go.
Oh, yeah. Not so fast. Myles Garrett, who we're not mentioning, Myles Garrett has 87% of Cleveland sacks. 87%. And since he's been with Cleveland, he's been about 78% of Cleveland sacks since he joined the Cleveland Browns. So if that's not important, I don't know what is.
It is. No, it 100% is. And for Browns fans, you're watching that defense, you're watching that team in general. You've got to be saying to yourself, where are the results? There should be more results there. I agree with you. It's uncanny to me.
But Dave, I like defensive linemen getting consideration for these awards more than
with Myles Garrett.
Respect them. So,
when Myles Garrett eventually retires, we're going to be talking about how he helped redefine that edge position in terms of what it really means to wreak havoc against that quarterback. Again, as offenses evolve and become more pass-oriented, you've got to have that edge guy to speed that process up. If that quarterback doesn't get rid of the ball, he's getting sacked.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you let Myles Garrett come at your blind side, eventually he's going to injure somebody. And that's just part of it. Or he's going to rip your quarterback's head off. I don't know whichever one he going to do when he do it.
Hey, Dave, and just before we move on, a lot of those linebackers, like a Micah Parsons, are lucky that Shaq Leonard did not play this year, because that guy is a stud.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely. There would be a couple of guys that their names should be up there, but the way the league is doing it, they only want the 3 names in there. There could easily be 5 names in every category here, and I totally agree with you there. And it's almost unfair to the guys that had great seasons as well. You're absolutely right. So thanks for bringing that to the show. Let's talk about assistant coach of the year, coordinator of the year. There's a who will win and there's a should win, right? So we've got Ben Johnson, the Lions offensive coordinator. You're not going to hear a lot about this guy. The Lions offense this year was pretty damn good.
Really good.
Did a great job with that Lions offense. And honestly, DeMeco Ryans of the 49ers defensive coordinator, whose defense statistically was pretty much number 1 in every category across the board. Now he's coaching studs. He ain't coaching bums, but he gets those guys to work hard. That 49ers defense is like an old NFL defense, what we're used to seeing. Eagles offensive coordinator Shane Steichen, he's not going to get a lot of pub. He did a great job this year.
That's a hard one.
This is a tough category. Now, DeMeco Ryans is going to get it. DeMeco Ryans is going to get it because he's been one of the top coordinators in all of football the past 2-3 years.
But you can make an argument for each one of those guys.
You absolutely could.
Detroit is a half point away from being in the playoffs, which they would have caused a lot of problems in the playoffs. And then Philly is in the Super Bowl, and Ryans, by no fault of his own, lost the quarterback, and his defense fell apart because they was on the field for 90 plays. He lost 2
quarterbacks. Don't forget, he lost 2 quarterbacks in that game.
He lost.
Brock Purdy got hurt
game and lost one. They won in Josh
Johnson got a concussion, and they had to put Brock Purdy back in. He lost 2 quarterbacks.
And then they had to take your boy, Christian McCaffrey, to take snaps.
They were asking Brock Purdy if he could throw left-handed. No, I'm serious. So I'm taking DeMeco Ryans to get this just because he earned this. He earned getting this award. Okay?
I'm with you on him.
But the other 2 guys, if I could give out 3 of these awards, I give it to all 3. You can't argue that. You can't argue against it. What do you think, Jody?
You already know what I'm gonna do. Eric Bieniemy. What? Where is listen, the disrespect for Eric Bieniemy is unheard of.
Yeah.
Eric Bieniemy, the guy, the team is 14-3. red zone scoring offenses where if you look across the league, teams struggle in the red zone. Where is Eric Bieniemy at? Jesus Christ, man. Come on.
Honestly, I don't know what. I mean, did he offend somebody in the NFL or something? Did they not like him? What'd he do?
Maybe
I'm just saying.
He looked maybe because he looked like Kevin Hart.
and he thought to play Philly, but Kevin Hart.
If Kevin Hart stood next to Eric Bieniemy, it'd be like walking around a building. Come on, man.
I mean, it's going to go to DeMeco Ryans, but Eric, come on, man.
You're right.
The disrespect for Eric Bieniemy, and I don't understand. Like, he can't get a head coaching job. He gets no respect, and they say it's because it's Andy Reid. But every one of Andy Reid's offensive coordinators has gone on to be head coaches, if you can include back in Philly.
And they didn't call plays.
So I don't know what it is about Eric Bieniemy that drives everybody insane, and he gets the lack of respect. I don't know.
I don't get it.
So I don't know.
Honestly, if I can find, I'll ask one of my sources. I'm gonna find out what's going on. He must have squeezed somebody's wife's butt or something. Somebody don't like this dude.
He must have pulled a Michael Irvin and said something.
Somebody. I'm gonna be honest with you. Somebody don't like this dude, and we don't know what it is. But nobody's talking.
Hey, we talking five straight seasons of being in the AFC Championship game. We're talking about 3 Super Bowls in 5 seasons. We're talking about potentially having an MVP 2 out of 5 years. So regardless if you got Pat Mahomes, if Pat Mahomes was supposed to be that guy like everybody thought, why was he the 11th pick of the draft and not number 1? So evidently it had to be some work to put into him to make him where he is. And Eric Bieniemy has to get some of that credit.
Hey, look at it this way. You just said it. How are you on a staff that has gone either to the Super Bowl or AFC Championship game 4 of the last 5 years, and you can't get a promotion?
5 of the last 5.
5 of the last 5, sorry. And you can't get a promotion. Something ain't right. Look, in corporate America, if my department continually smashes records and I'm the assistant manager, I'm helping run the show, and I can't get a promotion, something's wrong. I got to find a new company. So,
Dave, if you're the guy and the predecessor before you has gotten head coaching everybody before you got a head coaching job and has not done even close to what you have accomplished.
Yeah. All right, let's talk league MVP. Now, this is the only award where there's more than 3 candidates on here. We're going to go from just the order that it came off the sheet, okay? Josh Allen, quarterback, Buffalo Bills. Tony's nephew, Joe Burrow, Cincinnati Bengals, quarterback. Patrick Mahomes of your Kansas City Chiefs. Jalen Hurts of the Philadelphia Eagles. These are the quarterbacks. And Justin Jefferson got a nod as a potential league MVP at wide receiver. Hey, Justin, thanks for coming. Go on out on the side room, get you some Dr. Peppers. Take Josh Allen. Take Josh with you. Take Josh Allen with you.
Go ahead.
Joe Burrow, no smoking cigars inside, okay? But you just go over there and get you a Dr. Pepper as well. This award comes down to Pat Mahomes or Jalen Hurts. And it just comes down to more of, if you want to split the awards out, you gave the Offensive Player of the Year award to Jalen Hurts, then you would then give it to Pat Mahomes as league MVP. I think Pat Mahomes sweeps both. He gets Offensive Player of the Year, and I do think he gets league MVP. That's my take on it. Anybody in the chat that wants to get at me, get in the chat, get at me. Jody, am I wrong?
No, you absolutely correct in this aspect. But a person that should have been on that list that's getting absolutely no respect that I would have put over Josh Allen because he struggled down the stretch is Josh Jacobs. Should at least got a nod. The guy led the NFL in rushing. He had over 300 yards receiving, so he had close to 2,000 yards in total offense on that Raider offense that struggled all season with Derek Carr.
It just didn't make sense.
He wouldn't have won anything, but at least give him consideration if you're going to give Justin Jefferson consideration. The MVP, and the reason why I said Jalen Hurts is the Offensive Player of the Year and Pat Mahomes is the MVP because Pat Mahomes is so much more valuable to his team than any other player in the NFL right now. I believe you put the backup quarterback in for Kansas City, and they probably drafting in the top 5. That's how much he makes those receivers better. I mean, look at his receiving core. he had a lot of guys that nobody wanted. Kadarius Toney, nobody wanted. He couldn't even get on the field in New York. Juju Smith-Schuster, he was dancing on TikTok. He got kicked out of Pittsburgh, so nobody wanted that guy. You got Valdez Scandrick. Evidently, Green Bay could have used him, but they didn't think he was the guy. So he had a lot of misfits at the wide receiver position after losing Tyreek Hill, and he still put up the best season of his career. He's the MVP. I say Jalen Hurts is the offense player here. Pat Mahomes, MVP.
I like it. What do you think, Tony?
You see me arguing on our blog about Pat Mahomes, and I think
all the time
he's the best quarterback. But now that Jody said what he said, and believe me, guys, Pat Mahomes pulled a Michael Jordan the other week. When you say most valuable to a team, I've seen Kansas City win a playoff game against Jody's Cleveland team when they knocked Patrick Mahomes out the game. It tells me they still got a decent team. If you take Joe Burrow off of the Cincinnati Bengals, you live right there in Cincinnati, Jody. Stop. How bad was Cincinnati, Jody? Cincinnati was so bad, Jody, that Jody has never been. Jody don't even go down there and watch it. He lived 45 minutes away.
I don't like him.
Okay, you don't like him, but you do know that Cincinnati is absolutely awful without Joe Burrow. Where was Cincinnati before Joe Burrow? Where was Kansas City before Patrick Mahomes? Kansas City was actually in the playoffs.
They had Alex Smith, so they were.
But they were in.
Okay, but they were in
the playoffs. Cincinnati before Joe Burrow, they were picking number one.
Whoa, Tony, whoa, not so fast. Now, I know y'all don't like this guy, but Andy Dalton was taking Cincinnati consistently to the playoffs. He took them to the playoffs 4 years,
man,
out of 6 seasons.
Why are you talking about Obama's first term?
You asking the question. So before, when Andy Dalton moved on, and that's when Cincinnati struggled when Andy Dalton left. So for about 2 seasons, Cincinnati was garbage without having a quarterback. But if you keep Andy Dalton in that lineup, they at least are a team that can win 9 to 10 games. Go back in history. Everybody watching the show, I don't like Cincinnati. So if I'm giving y'all props, you know it's legit. I hate y'all. So that's a strong word. Hate it.
Yeah, that's a strong word, Jay. That's a strong
word. But you should. That's right.
We talking in football terms. So do I say Joe Burrow is very, very valuable to the? Absolutely, yes. Yes. They don't make the Super Bowl last year yet, but he still got Jamar Chase on that outside. He still got T. Higgins. He still got Joe Mixon. He got 1,000-yard runner and 2,000-yard receivers. Not to mention Tyler Boyd is another guy that had 1,000 yards before Joe Burrow got there. So let's not act like there's no weapons. Name me a 1,000-yard receiver on the Kansas City Chiefs team besides Kelsey. Running back or wide receiver.
Wait a minute. You talking about besides the best tight end in the world?
Yeah, but Jamar Chase, I just named 3 receivers that had 1,000 yards. Name one besides Kelsey that has yards.
So don't they have Juju Schuster and Scanlon?
He didn't have 1,000.
Well, they don't have 1,000 yards. What they doing now, instead of having one to have 1,000 yards,
and Tyreek
you got
Hill,
a whole bunch of them that can spread
the ball
you out. Yeah. Mahomes' weapons are unbelievable. Now, they're not Joe Burrow's weapons. So let's get that right. Joe Burrow, they got weapons now. But Joe Burrow is the guy who makes those weapons go. And Mahomes do too.
Stop, Tony.
Mahomes do too. But if you take Joe Burrow off that team, I don't think it's kind of like Lamar Jackson. I think they're 5. They're not even a 5. What are they if you took them off the team?
Who?
Joe Burrow.
The Bengals? They struggle. They struggle.
They're top 8. Top 8 draft.
He said top 8 draft.
Hold on. Before you go on, if you put a serviceable quarterback with those weapons, with the Jamar Chase, I don't think they have. They're not gonna do what Joe Burrow do. I'm not taking nothing away from Joe Burrow. But if you got a serviceable quarterback like an Alex Smith, and you put Alex Smith into that offense, they still got a chance to win, Tony. You take the weapons that KC has right now. those are not weapons if Mahomes is not quarterback. They're not considered weapons except for Kelsey if he's not the quarterback. They're not.
You don't like Pachinko?
I love him, but go look at his numbers. He don't even start. He's not. Listen, I like him. I think he's a stud. I think he's going to be good. But if you put him on an average team and you switch and you put give me an average quarterback. You throw an average quarterback there. You put Derek Carr in that offense. They're going to look like the Raiders look.
Hey, Jody, the best way to do it.
But if you put Derek Carr on Cincinnati, I think they still win a lot of games.
Hey, Jody,
I do too.
If both quarterbacks don't play in that championship game, does Kansas City beat Cincinnati?
No. They don't beat Cincinnati because of the weapons. Jamar Chase if he's healthy, he's a number 2 or 3 receiver in the league. He's not too far behind Justin Jefferson when healthy. Joe Mixon is a 1,000-yard runner. T. Higgins is a 1,000-yard receiver. Tyler Boyd is a 1,000-yard receiver. So what team in the league has a better receiving core than those 3 guys?
So when they had your boy last year, they had the cheetah. And Joe Burrow came up in his house and beat them. Now, when they had the squad, I'm telling you right now, if Joe Burrow is not a Bengal, the Bengals would be the Bengals of the 80s, and they were putting bags on their not the Bengals of the 80s, but the Bengals of the 90s or whatever. When they put the bags on the head. Yeah. That's what they would be doing. When they had to draft Keyshawn Carter, they would be those Bengals again.
Oh. You talking about when they had to get Copeland? They had to get John Copeland.
They were awful.
They had to get David Klingler. You talking about when they had to get David Klingler?
They don't. They don't. And when all they had to do was eat chili. That's what Cincinnati's known for, chili. That's all they had. Joe Burrow is the best thing to happen to Cincinnati since Cincinnati chili.
I'm not arguing.
Cincinnati chili is trash.
Hey.
Skyline chili is trash.
Hey, tripping, Dave.
Skyline chili is trash.
Dave tripping. He really tripping.
Hold on. You see that under my name right there? Dave, go. You see that? Jody Coleman, what?
Midwest.
We ain't playing that up here, Dave. We don't play that up here.
Sorry, my people are from Texas. Can't nobody in Ohio make no damn chili. I'm sorry.
Oh,
sorry.
God. Here we go.
I'll tell you what, Tony, we're gonna have a show where I'm gonna make y'all some chili. And when y'all eat my Texas chili, y'all tell me what the deal is. Because this is my father's recipe, my family recipe. The shit is legit. So listen, we're talking Super Bowl here on the TD Report. I've got to get off in about, 15 minutes or whatever.
We can go for 15.
We can go for 15, and you guys can stay on for overtime and argue. Tony, this is like, everyone that don't know Tony, this is like Tony's Christmas. This is second Christmas for Tony. You know, he goes out, he puts on his little fuzzy slippers, he goes out, and he has his Super Bowl magazine that came in the mail. No, I mean, he literally goes out there in his robe and everything and gets his little, see, he looked like a kid in a candy store. This thing about Tony is like it literally is his Christmas.
Yes,
He about to start singing Nat King Cole. He's so happy.
Yes, I am.
Tony, when did your Super Bowl magazine show up?
Showed up on Saturday. Hot off the presses.
You ain't put it down.
I'm one of the first people to get a magazine. Let me tell you real quick. I had a buddy go to Super Bowl 12, 13 years ago, whenever the Super Bowl was in Dallas, when the Cowboys supposed to be in it, but it was Pittsburgh and Green Bay who stole our game. And they went to the Super Bowl, and they bought me a program home. So I didn't want to look at the program because the Cowboys wasn't in it. So I go look at the program. I found a mistake. So, they got a mistake. Let me go to the back and two I can call. So somebody went to the Super Bowl next year, gave me a program, found another mistake. So I called the people up and said, man, there's two years in a row. The second year, they knew who I was. And so I'm all, making, I'm going to do this, and that, and this. And I'm going to call the people on you. They send me a program every year. So I don't call the people on them. And
so they try to shut you up.
Since they send me my program, I can't go snitch. Snitching is bad, folks.
You like, you know what? You like Andy Dufresne in what was that? Shawshank. That kept sending letters. You kept sending letters until they said, "Here's money. Shut up. Don't call us no more. Here's some books."
And I'm guilty. They sent me that, and guess what? There's no mistakes in it.
We're going to talk Super Bowl. We're going to get Tony and Jody's picks. We've got some history here. First time we've had 2 black quarterbacks starting in the Super Bowl. So shout out to our guy here in DC, Doug Williams, who was the first to win one. And we grew up on that, Jody. And you were a young guy too. You remember it. But for us here that lived in the DC area, it was the biggest thing ever for us is to have Doug Williams win that Super Bowl. What? It wasn't. I'm sorry. Tony's mad because he's a Redskin. Tony's mad because Doug was a Redskin.
Come on, Tony.
That's all that is.
Come on, Tony.
Stop hating, Tony. Stop hating.
Huh? Hey, listen. He was the first black quarterback to start a Super Bowl, and he was the first one to win. If you put it in percentages, the African American quarterbacks in the Super Bowl got a pretty damn good record.
Except for Donovan McNabb.
He 0-1.
He lost.
And McNair
He should have won. He should have won.
McNair was 0-1.
McNair's 0-1.
1-1 was Russell Wilson. He's 1-1.
He's 1-1.
Holmes is 1-1. So I mean,
it's not terrible.
Hell no, it's better than the other side.
Cam Newton 0-1 too. We don't mention Cam Newton. He 0-1.
Yeah, we do mention Cam Newton.
I'm still mad about that. I'm still mad about that one. I'm not happy about that one.
He's the only quarterback to wear number 1, which Jalen Hurts wear, and he lost the Super Bowl.
There's another one. See, Tony got all that trivia. He knows all of that.
But the biggest one was the Super Bowl, the Heisman, National Championship, and Super Bowl. There's only been 3 to do it. It was Dorsett in 78 in Super Bowl 12. It was Charles Woodson. He did it with the Green Bay Packers when they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah, they beat Pittsburgh in Dallas, where they cheated, and they shouldn't have been in the game. It was Reggie Bush. Reggie Bush was before that, the Super Bowl before that, when they beat the Colts. Yeah. And then it was Charles Woodson. And so if Devontae Smith do it this week, if he wins the Super Bowl, he'd be the 4th.
For the Eagles, he'll be the 4th.
And that's of any nationality.
And then Joe Burrow would
be African American.
Yeah. And Joe Burrow would need the Super. He needs the Super Bowl.
Joe Burrow missed out. Cam Newton missed out.
And well, Joe still has a career left. Joe Burrow, if he wins the Super Bowl, he ends up on that list, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's going to be interesting to see how that works out. Hey, man, weren't we supposed to have Joe on the show? What happened?
We were trying to get his daddy on the show.
That's cool.
Get his daddy on the show.
I'll tell everybody it's Joe Burrow. I'll tell everybody it's Joe Burrow, but it'd be his dad.
Hey, that's good.
It'd be his dad. I got to hook his dad up with Jody since he lived right next to him out there in the Midwest. Perfect. But Jody ain't gonna like him because Jody gonna end up telling him he a Brown fan, and then they're gonna be like this.
They gonna
be. So here's what I'm gonna do.
He gonna be mad smacking him around for a long time.
I know, right? So listen, I know the conventional pick, the conventional wisdom is to take the Chiefs no matter what. Something is about the Eagles. I think I'm gonna have to change my pick. I'm gonna take the Eagles in this one. I think they're the most complete team left in the. I think they're the most complete team in the league. They've got everything. They got offense and they have defense. They're balanced. They got the leadership at quarterback. I think they have just enough to beat the Chiefs. Let me get the Eagles to win. The Eagles are going to win by 3 points.
No.
What you think? Jody's already disagreeing with me. What you got?
It got to be KC. KC, for the simple fact of all I've been saying this whole show. Andy Reid gets a lot of credit, and rightfully so. But what Eric Bieniemy has done is I'm sick of the disrespect, man. I'm definitely,
me too.
I'm disrespect. This guy has done something that name another coordinator that has done more than what even if Eric Bieniemy don't win this year. Name a coordinator that has done more than him. With one organization, not different organization, but one organization. Go. I challenge anybody that's listening on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook. I challenge y'all to find me a more decorated offensive coordinator with one organization, not going to several different organizations, and not to get a head coaching job.
You mean other than Andy Reid?
Right,
He's a pretty damn good coordinator in his own right.
Exactly.
He's the head coach. But I got Kansas City for the Andy Reid, the Eric Bieniemy, and of course the Patrick Mahomes. Man, Patrick Mahomes, he's about to go down in history, man. If Patrick Mahomes can win this Super Bowl, which will be his second in his five years as a starter.
Is it 5 or is it 4? I think this is his 4th year as a starter, isn't it?
Fifth year.
This is his 5th year. It just went so fast. Wow. Okay.
Look at his resume. If he wins Super, that'd be 2 Super Bowls, 3 of them he appeared in. He's gonna get 2 MVPs, 5 AFC Championship games. And if you look at the AFC Championship games, he never lost in regulation. He has not lost an AFC Championship game in regulation. And then, of course, he loses the Super Bowl, but he loses the Super Bowl to Tom Brady. So, I mean, that ain't a bad resume. So, I got Kansas City by 9.
Wow. So, more than a touchdown. Tony?
30-21.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead,
Dave.
Jody. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
30-21.
30-21. Tony?
So, Dave, I've been undefeated on this. This is our 3rd Super Bowl on the TD
Correct.
Report.
Since we've been doing the show.
I haven't lost a Super Bowl since Super Bowl 50. And when I got upset with Cam Newton versus the Denver Broncos. And I've called, Dave, did I not say in the Kansas City Super Bowl against Tampa, everybody was picking Tampa, everybody picking Kansas City, I told you it was going to be a blowout. I told you it wasn't going to be close.
You said the defense was going to be,
then last year, I picked the
out.
Rams because they were at home. Now, with this Super Bowl, who do I think have the best team? I think Philadelphia, man for man, has the best team. But they don't have the one player on their team, which is Patrick Mahomes. And I feel that what I saw with Patrick Mahomes, I think that's going to carry them. Now, normally, if you don't get a running game, it hurts you and you got to pass. But KC don't care about their running game. So they just want to pass. And I want to bring you back to something. The game that they're going to look at is the game on Christmas Eve when Dak played them and they back half struggled. They back half struggled because they couldn't get to Dak. I think that is what's going to be the difference of this game. Philadelphia's pass rush is great when you got a quarterback who's going to stay in one spot. But when you got a quarterback who can extend the plays, that means your back half has to be really, really good. And I think he's going to test that back half. And I think that back half will not be enough. I think that the score will be 31-17. Kansas City, I think it's 31-17. I think it's them going away. I think Spagnuolo, who's the defensive coordinator, is probably one of the best who've ever been around. He was the one who stopped Brady and them from going 19-0.
Yep.
He was the one who pulled everything out 2 years ago, a couple of years ago when they had to beat Frisco. He's always held. Look what he did with Joe Burrow and them with limited. He is the guy that no one talks about. And I think that they're going to make Hurts more one-dimensional in this game and make him actually throw from the pocket because he has to. He's great from the pocket when everything else is working, but he's not going to be great from the pocket when he has to be in the pocket. There's two different sides to that. So when people say, well, numbers, he's great from the pocket. No, he's great from the pocket because when he fakes it and he sits back like that because the running game been working, everybody's just sitting up. No, when they know he make him one-dimensional, I think that's what's going to be the difference of the game. It's only experience. Philly is the better team, man for man for man for man. I think that, and I will die thinking that. But that doesn't mean you always going to win the game.
One of our texters just texted in, Tony. Paul Adams says that Paul Adams says Eagles are playing team football. They are in a groove right now. Hassan Reddick will dominate this game. Eagles 34, Chiefs 17.
Hassan Reddick, who I just gave props to, is going to be null and void this game because he puts so much pressure coming around. Patrick Mahomes will not be on that spot. When he gets to that spot, Patrick Mahomes will be gone.
I agree.
And that is a bad thing. Mahomes is a problem for a team who want to rush the passer and want to get there fast because their back end can't hold up. What happens when they get to the passer and the back end is like, okay, they don't Mahomes can move.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the difference of the game. What you're going to see is two classic styles. You see in the RPO game, read option and Hurts. And then you see in a classic drop back, climb the pocket, extend the play in Mahomes. Folks, what you're seeing by these two African-American quarterbacks is the future of football at the quarterback position.
Get in there, Jody.
Two things. I know we got to go. Two things. First thing I'm going to say is about Kansas City. If you look across the board, offense and defensive, look at who was drafted by this organization. Patrick Mahomes, Kelsey, Humphreys on the offensive line, Clyde
Edwards-Helaire. Yeah. And he's active for this game. He's active.
Pico. Harmon ain't playing, but he was drafted by the organization. On the defense, Chris Jones and Will Gay and Nick Bolton. The list goes on of guys that they drafted. Sky Moore on the offensive side of the ball. These are guys that was drafted and brought along through the organization in a small period of time. So let's give a shout out to their scouting department and their
player personnel. Yeah,
it's ridiculous if you look at their Philadelphia as well. Philadelphia has a lot of homegrown pieces.
A ton.
I think Kansas City has a little bit more than Philly. Because one of their key acquisitions was A.J. Brown, which was a free agent. You know what I'm saying? So he made that offense go. A.J. Brown makes the Philadelphia offense go or not going to go. So I that's what I think. But my last thing I want to say is it's 2023, right? And it's the 57th Super Bowl. I can't wait for 5 years from now that we're not saying it's two African-American quarterbacks. We're just saying that there's two quarterbacks in the game, even if they are African-American.
Absolutely.
I want it to be where it's equal, and now we can see that the quarterback position can be played by all nationalities. It doesn't matter. They're not smarter. They're not more athletic. They're just quarterbacks. And I'm hoping, because we're going to see more of this, I'm hoping in years to come that won't be the headline. I don't want it to be, they're two African-American quarterbacks, and that's basically the whole headline of the Super Bowl. I want it to be as two quarterbacks in the Super Bowl because it's going to be natural behavior to see those guys in there, and it's not going to be foreign.
Here. I agree. Everyone, thanks for joining us here on the TD Report. We've got Tony Kennedy. We've got Jody Coleman. Before we go, everyone enjoy the Super Bowl. Enjoy all the festivities. Eat up all the wings. And we're going to be – hold on. One guy, James Brown. Question is, if KC can shut down Philly's running game, will Hurts be able to win it with his arm? You know what? Before we leave, let me just say this. The way that Philadelphia's offense has been working this year, they've always found a way to win. Okay? So I'm not worried about Jalen Hurts making throws into tight windows, because all that kid has done since he got benched in college is work to make himself better every single year. I don't think that's the way that you can beat Philly, is to hope that Jalen Hurts doesn't make throws. I think you've got to slow that RPO game down first. Because not everybody's been able to do that. Okay. And they're able to go back to it or go away from it and come back to it anytime they want. So when your defense adjusts, they can still hit you with it. Go ahead, Tony.
Hey, wait a minute. If I look at it this way, if Joe Burrow couldn't beat them with his arm, Jalen Hurts don't stand a chance to beat him with his arm, because that just beating him, making him one-dimensional is what you want to do. And before we go, Jody, we need to know we're missing something. This is big, folks, because the Hall of Fame thing is being announced on Saturday night.
Yeah.
You need what's quick the 5. I know 1 5 is gonna be the guy from Cleveland.
I'm gonna give my 5 real quick, Dave. I got Joe Thomas.
He's in. He's in.
The next unanimous one has to be Darrelle Revis, top 5 cornerback of all time.
He's in.
I got Rondé Barber. Barber. And I'm gonna tell you why. I think Rondé Barber, if you look at the other guys that made Derek Brooks, Warren Sapp, and John Lynch, he has more tackles than every last one of those guys except for Derek Brooks. He has more tackles. He's one of the few guys in the NFL that has over 20 interceptions, 20 sacks, 20 fumbles. So I got Rondé Barber. I got Zach Thomas. Finally getting the nod. And then I got Devin Hester. You got to let Devin Hester in.
What are the other picks on
I can't let Devin Hester in because Brian Mitchell was a guest on our show. So
because
Brian Mitchell has to go in before Devin Hester.
So I think Brian Mitchell should have been on his ballot, honestly. I
don't know why he wasn't.
So
don't worry, we'll get Brian back on.
So
don't worry.
Wait, Dave, read the list real quick.
You got Dwight Freeney, you got DeMarcus Ware, you got Torrey Holt, Reggie Wayne, Andre
Torrey Holt, he should make it.
Willis, I don't have the rest. Did I say Torrey Holt?
You did. Torrey Holt was a hell of a wide receiver.
Will Anderson at tackle.
Mm-hmm. I only think about out of that list, Jody. I only think 4 of those guys make it. 2 are shooting.
I don't think Zach Thomas make it.
Zach won't make it. He won't make it.
This guy been on the
Darren Woodson.
Who? Darren Woodson on there too.
Darren Woodson's on there. He won't make it.
There you go. Darren Woodson's in.
He won't make it. He won't make it, Tony.
I think he eventually make it. But Zach Thomas been on the ballot for the last 4 to 5 years. At what point do you let a guy that's top 5 in tackles all time, 8-time Pro Bowler or whatnot, 6-time All-Pro?
Hey, Dave, watch this. Jody, who you really want to make it?
Joe Thomas. Joe Thomas, if Joe Thomas don't get in, I think they'll turn Kenton upside.
They're gonna put the National Guard out there.
I'm with you on this, Jody. Joe Thomas is a shoe-in. Bet the mortgage.
You want to make money this weekend? Don't you bet on the Super Bowl. Go bet on Joe Thomas getting in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he's in.
That's a prop bet for you right there. Go bet that.
Darrelle Revis got to get in on this nod. Darrelle Revis
probably makes it. He probably makes it.
Oh, this is going to be a pretty good class right here. So, Dave, you coming with us this year up to the Hall of Fame?
I'm going to try, guys. I'm going to try. This is my son's last year in high school, so I got a lot of baseball left, man. He's looking really good in
you
early
ain't playing no
training.
baseball in August.
Huh?
You ain't playing no baseball in early August.
Well, he won't be unless he walks on somewhere. Hey, guys, thanks for joining us. Bro. We appreciate you. We're going to see you. Hey, don't be shrinking from your Super Bowl picks when we get back here on Monday. People get that amnesia. Oh, I knew that they were going to win it the whole time. No, you didn't. Because we got the tape.
Hey, Rihanna's the first person to ever be the halftime performer to ever be on the back cover. Look at that. Look at that.
She got a lot of clothes on, though.
Back cover of the Super Bowl program.
She's no Halle Berry.
I told you I got you, though, Dave. Don't even worry.
Thank you.
Don't worry.
Tell Halle Berry I love Cleveland.
Hey, Monday, I always stand on what I say, whether I'm right or whether I'm wrong. I'm standing on Kansas City winning it.
Okay. I'll take the Eagles. Take the Eagles.
I've hit since Super Bowl 50.
Yes.
So I haven't missed since Super Bowl 50. So, all right.
Appreciate you guys. Great show.
See you Monday night.
Monday night. I'll be here.
It's going to be a great show. Hey.